NewJeans and Industry Rebellion.
Oh, NewJeans. There's so much to say that I had to make a video about it. These young girls truly don't realize how privileged they are under a door. I've never seen a label, Korean or Western, so willing to work with its artists. Welcome, my name is Moon, and I want to explain why I'm making this video. I'm not a bunny, but I found NewJeans about a year into their debut and became a casual fan. Their current lawsuit? It's absolutely ridiculous, and I'll break down why this situation could be dangerous, not just for them, but for the entire idol industry.
Background.
NewJeans. Formed by Adore, a HYBE subsidiary. Consists of 5 members, Minji, Danielle, Hanni, Haerin, and Haerin. They debuted on August 1, 2022, with their self-titled EP NewJeans, featuring singles such as Attention, Hype Boy, and Cookie. Their mix of Y2K, UK garage, R&B, and electronic music stood out in an industry dominated by girl crush concepts. They were on the rise, until Min Hee-jin, the real villain here, got greedy. She tried to undermine HYBE and take full control of Adore, dragging NewJeans down with her. Ever since that infamous August 2024 press conference, where they claimed HYBE broke their trust, things have gone downhill. If they keep following the Min Hee-jin playbook, they risk getting blacklisted, and worse, setting a precedent that could lead to harsher contracts or punishments for idols who actually need to speak out against their labels.
NewJeans rebranding as NJZ, a reckless move.
Let's get straight to the point. NewJeans' reasons for wanting to leave Adore are flimsy at best. They've accused HYBE of breaking their trust and claimed ILIT copied them, yet provided no real proof. Even their claim that ILIT ignored Hanni was debunked by clear video evidence. Instead of handling things professionally, they rushed to rebrand as NJZ, despite still being under a legal contract. The concept they attempted doesn't even stand out, it's just a black and white aesthetic borrowing from aespa and XG. Their illegal rebranding stripped them of what little uniqueness they had left, which is why I refuse to call them NJZ. Adore has repeatedly stated they're open to discussions, yet the girls keep making reckless choices. After their Hong Kong Complex Con performance flopped, they're finally realizing the law isn't a joke. Even then, they announced a hiatus without Adore's approval. Whoever is advising them, and we all know who, clearly doesn't care about their careers. If they did, they wouldn't have let them rebrand under a knockoff version of their own name, which still legally belongs to Adore. Instead of quietly returning and continuing their careers, they let Min Hee-jin manipulate them into self-sabotage. Adore had plans for a world tour and a new album. If NewJeans truly cared about music, they would have stayed and worked. Now, they're at risk of losing everything. Their Complex Con performance was an uncoordinated disaster, and even when Adore sent staff to help, they were completely ignored by NewJeans. Adore quickly distanced themselves, making it clear they had no part in the mess. The whole thing was rushed, sloppy, and embarrassing. Min Hee-jin once called them lazy, and honestly, she might have had a point. Haerin, the youngest at 16, didn't even bother dancing during her solo. The others may have been unstable and off-key, but at least they tried to dance. Their performance was half-hearted in general though, it's obvious they haven't been practicing. For a group supposedly leaving Adore to create music, the only thing they've put out is Pit Stop, which, let's be real, wasn't good. Why was everything branded as NJZ instead of NewJeans when they claimed to respect the court's decision, and then announced a hiatus? If they had just let Adore help, their concert, and their careers, would be in a much better place. Instead, they're walking straight into disaster.
How NewJeans' privilege sets them apart from other artists.
Let's start with their debut, something the K-pop industry, or even the entire music world, has never seen. Each NewJeans member was paid 5.2 billion Korean won, $3.8 million US dollars, In their first year, totaling 26.1 billion Korean won. $19 million US dollars, as a group. To put that into perspective, most idols take years, usually 3 to 5, just to pay off their trainee debt and start earning money. NewJeans, they cleared their debt in 2 months. That's unheard of. And let's be real, if it weren't for the groups before them that made Hybe a billion-dollar company, NewJeans wouldn't have seen that kind of payday. The success of BTS, 17, G-Friend, and Les Seraphim paved the way, among other groups before them. Before Hybe, it was just the Big Three, SM, YG, JYP. BTS changed that. NewJeans is reaping the benefits of that foundation. But their privilege goes beyond just money. Even before their official debut, they had endorsements with luxury brands like Chanel, Gucci, Dior, Burberry. Who gets deals like that before even dropping a song? That's Big Four privilege, plain and simple. Minji and Haerin even appeared in BTS Permission to Dance music video as trainees. Then came Coca-Cola, Apple, Calvin Klein, McDonald's, and even more brand deals, all within just 3 years. Most idols dream of those opportunities after proving themselves, but NewJeans got it all handed to them up front. Yet despite this unprecedented success, they're already trying to throw it all away. Adore has been incredibly patient, repeatedly saying they're open to talking things out, yet NewJeans keeps making reckless choices. Hybe poured millions into their debut. Debuting any idol isn't cheap, no matter the label, so why would they want to deal with a lawsuit instead of seeing a return on their investment? It would be so much easier for NewJeans to just go back to Adore before they mess around and get blacklisted. And now they are calling themselves revolutionaries. Please. Let's not forget what actual bad label treatment looks like. I could go on for hours, but let's not pretend NewJeans is some tragic case. They've had every advantage in the world, now they're wasting it.
Actual examples of artists getting screwed over by their labels, K-pop edition.
There sadly are too many artists who can make this list easily, and who all deserve their own video. But in this part, I will quickly go over some examples of artists who have had a hard time under their labels, the people who could have helped protected them better. Miss A vs JYP. Gia told y'all in Goodbye Baby why she left, you keep calling me Susie, but my name isn't Susie. Miss A's disbandment wasn't Susie's fault, but JYP's blatant favoritism toward her did play a role in how the rest of the group got neglected. Even Susie herself couldn't save Miss A from being pushed aside in favor of groups like Twice, GOT7, 2PM, and Wonder Girls. The fact that they had the hits but still weren't promoted properly is crazy. Miss A could have been just as big as the other groups if JYP actually cared. 21 vs YG. From YG himself calling them ugly when they first debuted, to barely promoting them despite being one of the most popular girl groups at the time, to completely failing to protect Bomb when the media went after her over a prescription substance issue. 21 was constantly disrespected. CL was obviously favored, but even her status in the company couldn't save them. The way this exact same pattern keeps happening with girl groups is not a coincidence. EXO vs SM. EXO got the TVXQ treatment, especially when it came to their Chinese members. SM basically did what they did to TVXQ. Overworked them. Exploited them. And structured their contracts in a way that made it basically impossible for them to ever fully pay back the company. Keeping them trapped. CBX, Chin, Baekhyun, and Xiumin tried to fight back and got blacklisted, just like JYJ. Has SM ever had a group they didn't screw over at some point?
Western edition, the industry has always been shady.
Michael Jackson vs Sony. One of the biggest artists of all time literally told the world that major labels were robbing artists blind. Michael called out Tommy Mottola for being the devil, exposed how labels purposely keep artists broke so they have to keep touring just to survive, and flat out said Sony wanted to get rid of him for his music catalog. And what happened? They blacklist him. After years of legal battles and financial disputes, he died mysteriously right before his This Is It tour. And in 2016, Sony finally got full control over his catalog. Pretty sad how it ended. Prince vs. Warner Brothers. Prince literally wrote "slave" on his face because he wasn't allowed to legally use his own name under his contract with Warner Brothers. He wanted to drop music at his own pace, but they owned his masters and controlled his output, so he fought back the best way he could. By releasing as much music as possible to fulfill his contract and by going by a symbol instead of his real name, making it harder for Warner to market him. When he finally became free, he went independent and worked out a deal with them to get his masters back from his albums pre-1996 in 2014. And yet, after his suspicious death in 2016, Sony bought the catalog in 2018 he fought so hard to own. Whitney Houston vs. Arista/Sony. Clive Davis threw a Grammy party over Whitney's unalived body in the same hotel. And let's not forget, by the time she passed in 2012, she was reportedly broke, despite signing a $100 million deal with Arista in 2001. That deal wasn't actual earnings, it was an advance, meaning she was still in debt to the label. Industry insiders have pointed out that, at that point, Whitney was worth more unalive than living, and suddenly, after her passing, her estate was making hundreds of millions from posthumous albums, movies, and documentaries. And if that wasn't weird enough, her daughter passed the exact same way. There was also an alleged insurance policy pulled on her life before her passing. Another super tragic, but sadly not the only case of an artist ultimately being screwed over.
Haerin Hee-jin is the mastermind behind everything.
It's impossible to talk about this whole NewJeans/NJZ circus without mentioning its ringleader, Min Hee-jin. I don't even know how to describe just how unhinged and sloppy she is. All of this drama boils down to one thing. She wanted to be bigger than Bang PD. Hype gave her the money to start Adore, but somehow, that wasn't enough.
I won't even get into her unsettling obsession with childlike imagery and her questionable behavior over the years, that's a whole other conversation. But the way she's brainwashed NewJeans into believing she single-handedly made them who they are. Peak delusion. She was called in for creative direction, not to be their manager. And she knows this. She's worked within Hype's system long enough to understand she wasn't the only one running the show. I almost fell out of my chair when Danielle confirmed that Min Hee-jin is the sixth member of NewJeans, but at the same time, I should not be surprised. Girl, we know. Thanks for the confirmation, though. Then there's her bizarre obsession with BTS. Les Seraphim. And especially Islet. She's fixated on Hype and Bang PD's success in the same way Courtney Love was obsessed with Kurt Cobain's fame. If you know, you know. It's unhealthy. Instead of inspiring the NewJeans members with her positive traits, she's making them mini versions of herself, just without the actual creativity. They're picking up her worst traits: plagiarism, pettiness, and unnecessary hostility. When is enough enough? The greed is insane. How can someone like that ever be truly happy? Why can she never say anything nice? Why is she always berating someone whenever people outside of her delusional fanbase talk about her? She created a toxic work environment, so bad that an employee recently won a case against her. Instead of taking accountability, she insulted the person for speaking out. She told Haerin to lie to the South Korean National Assembly about being ignored, even though Haerin herself wasn't sure what even happened.
The receipts show that Islet didn't ignore her. Min Hee-jin made that girl embarrass herself.
She's accusing Islet of plagiarism despite them having a completely different concept. Meanwhile, Min Hee-jin is a known plagiarist. NewJeans is literally a ripoff of the Mexican group Jeans if we're being completely honest, from the name down to the aesthetic. It's shocking they haven't sued yet because they have a solid plagiarism case. And the craziest part? She doesn't even like the NewJeans girls. There's evidence of her trash-talking them, calling them lazy and vain, body-shaming one of them, and even making disturbing comments about if they don't credit her for their careers she wanted to off them. Who even jokes like that? She has a pattern of being aggressive, vile, and unprofessional. She claims she hates feminists yet said she's not afraid to use her body for favors, the ultimate pick-me behavior. And let's not forget, she literally went to a shaman to put a curse on BTS and other hype groups to boost NewJeans. Girl, what? That's why karma is hitting her now. Every ridiculous claim she's made, every lie she's fed to NewJeans is being debunked in real time. Her safety net is fading fast, karma is catching up. Haerin might be NewJeans' saving grace. Haerin, girl, blink twice if you need help. Seriously, though, her silence has been deafening. Unlike the other members, she's never openly supported Min Hee-jin or commented on the situation at all. Even after the disastrous Hong Kong ComplexCon concert, while the others sported NJZ merch on the way back to Korea, Haerin wore a beanie with a different logo. Then there's that picture of the girls having lunch. Guess who's missing? Haerin. It wouldn't be shocking if she's the only one who sees this situation for what it really is. I'd love to see her pull a Kina from 50/50, step back, redebut, and avoid getting blacklisted. If NewJeans can't be salvaged, Adore could at least rebuild with new members, including Haerin. The others seem to think they can just defy the law and walk away from their contract without consequences, but Haerin actually seems to grasp what's at stake. I just hope they don't get so caught up in Min Hee-jin's influence that they ruin their careers for good. Can they be redeemed? And why is this dangerous for artists? At this point, NewJeans is losing public support as the cracks in their narrative become more apparent. Every day they continue under NJZ, disregarding contracts and the law, they make it harder to redeem themselves. Their only viable damage control would be returning to Adore. The best option still available to them. They're young, so there's hope, but time is running out. If they were under SM, they'd likely already be blacklisted. Adore was built for Min Hee-jin. But it was also meant to nurture NewJeans. And by ignoring their own team, who are still editing their videos and handling PR, they are disrespecting the very people supporting them. The longer they prolong this, the worse the damage, risking being seen as entitled, out of touch, and unreliable. No major company will trust them after witnessing how they handle contracts. The best path forward is clear. Quietly return to Adore. Fulfill their contract. Regain public trust. And apologize to the groups they dragged into this mess, especially poor Islet. Otherwise, why should anyone care about their careers if they don't? Min Hee-jin's influence is crumbling, and ComplexCon made that clear. If NewJeans truly wants independence, they should terminate their contract, but they must be prepared for the brutal road ahead. Conclusion. I apologize if this came off harsh or critical. I was once genuinely excited about NewJeans and their fresh take on K-pop. I still want to support them, but their reckless decisions and disregard for the law are making the magic fade, which is why I felt the need to make this video. They're incredibly lucky that Adore is still being diplomatic. Other labels would have blacklisted them without hesitation. The court siding with Adore on all 11 injunctions proves there wasn't enough evidence of wrongdoing.
If they truly want to be artists, they should appreciate the platform Adore provided instead of releasing messy music without direction. NewJeans needs to wake up, return to Adore, and reclaim their potential before it's too late.